Sharps, flats, and naturals are the three most common accidentals that we will find in music. But I'd like to introduce you to two other musical symbols, two other accidentals, that we're going to have use for as well this semester. And let me start by writing a note here that we do know. Let me write an F sharp. And I'll write it right in this first space on the treble clef staff. Here's an F sharp. And just going back to the piano keyboard just to ground ourselves here. Here's F. That sharp symbol in front of the F means raise that F by 1/2 step, which is going to put us on this black key right here. But there's another symbol that we use in conjunction with the sharp symbol, and that is a symbol that says to raise this F not 1/2 step, but to raise it 2/2 steps. And that symbol is called the double sharp. I'm going to write a double sharp here. Looks like this. And we're going to put it in front of the F note head, just like this. So this is F sharp. This is F double sharp. Okay, so let's actually unpack what that means. Okay, so here's F. Here's F sharp right here. F sharp means raise the F by 1/2 step. Okay, but what does raise that F by 2/2 steps mean? Well, if we go from F to F sharp, that's 1/2 step. And then if we go from F sharp up 1/2 step, where does that land us? It lands us on the white note G. So, take a moment to process this. What that means is, if I put this double sharp symbol in front of the F, the note that I'm actually going to play on the piano keyboard is G. I'm not going to call it a G, or I'm not going to, as we say, spell it as a G. I'm going to call it an F double sharp, but it'll actually be a G. Let's just do another one of these because it's a little bit strange sometimes to first encounter these. Let's take a C. Let's take a C. Let's take middle C to keep things nice and simple. Here's middle C. So, here's middle C right here. If I put a sharp in front of that C, then that means raise that C by 1/2 step. And I end up on this black note just above C, and we call that C sharp. But then if I go one step further and write a C double sharp, that means take that C and raise it by 2/2 steps. So C is is no half steps. C sharp is 2/2 steps. Or 1/2 step, and then D is 2/2 steps. So I'm going to play the white note D, but I'm going to actually call this C double sharp. Now you may think to yourself, that's ridiculous. Why do we put ourselves through that torture? Why don't we just, if we want somebody to play a D, why don't we just have them play a D? Well, it's a really good question, and we don't quite have enough information yet to have a good answer, but there will be some really compelling reasons, not always, but sometimes, to use a double sharp. Notice, by the way, and you can see this in the Music Theory Survival Guide, the way that we write the double sharp symbol is a little bit different than the way that it's printed when it's printed engraved music, and you can see the way that in the Survival Guide, you can see both ways. There are a couple of musical symbols that are that way, that are different when we write them from when we actually print them in printed music. So we have the sharp and we have the double sharp, and we can also do this in the other direction. We can have the flat Let's actually take an example of this. Let's take a B. Let's take the B in the third line B in the treble clef right here. And just to orient ourselves in the piano keyboard, right here. That's this B right here. If I put a flat in front of that B, let me just write a separate B here to do that. If I put a flat in front of that B, that means lower that note by 1/2 step. So we end up on this black note that is right below B. And we call that B flat. But then there's another musical symbol called the double flat. And the double flat is literally just 2 flat cymbals stacked up to the left of the note head like that. What does B double flat mean? That means lower the note by 2/2 steps. So we start with B, the flat symbol lowers it by 1/2 step. The double flat symbol lowers it by 2/2 steps. So that puts us on a note that if we were to play it on the piano keyboard, looks like an A. But we're actually going to call this note B double flat. Now again, you may say that's torture. Why would we ever do that to ourselves? And the answer is most of the time we won't. Most of the time this is not something that we'll use, but there are some places, there are some instances in which this will come in very useful. And we'll start to see at least some of those later on in the semester. But that gives you an introduction to double sharps and double flats.